Hello YouTube, this is ConrailFan76 here, and still kind of recovering from the pneumonia, as you hear right there. But, I'm mostly better, so I decided to make this video here. So, at the time of recording this, it is December 23rd, 2024, and Stories of Sodor Season 6 has concluded on the Patreon, which I paid for to have early access to the episodes. Now, after my Season 5 review, many people would ask if I was going to review Season 6, and I guess this is going to be my review. It's not going to be as flashy as the Season 5 review, it's not going to be as big, it's just going to be, hopefully, a quick video. So, now that Season 6 is over, I'm not going to upload this until after the episode is released, but publicly. But now that Season 6 is over, is it any better than Season 5? The answer to that is yes, but not by much. You see, a lot of the problems that Season 5 had are still permeate in Season 6. It's mainly a lot of the issues rest in the pacing, and consequences just don't last. Those were some of the complaints I had previously. And, well, it just feels boring as a result. Like, rarely anything occurs outside of the episodes. It's just one episode's plot that moves on to the next episode's plot. The only real time we get any kind of consequences is the final two episodes. I believe Protesters and Adjustment. Those are the only two episodes that really permeate within each other, honestly. But speaking of the episode Adjustment, it suffers the same problem as the final episode of Season 5 did. I don't even remember what the apologies to everyone, but I don't remember what the episode was called. It just kind of glosses through everything at a almost breakneck pace, and it just feels kind of half-hearted of an ending. Again, just something happens, and then something happens, and then kick off, and then changing times, nature of the industry, and then kick off with your generic Tugs ending. That kind of thing, you know? And it's disappointing, honestly. I know I used that word to describe Season 5, but this one is just as disappointing. Well, I take that back, it's not as disappointing, because there wasn't a whole lot of stakes on the line for what Season 6 was supposed to represent. But, yeah, that's mainly the problem with the episodes. It's just, or with the season, it's just kind of too bland. And one of the main problems for that, I believe, is the pacing, again, because it felt just like slightly rushed with how fast the stories went with their plots and then climaxes. The payoff just doesn't feel good. Like, I mentioned this in the Season 5 review, but it's not like where we get several episodes of a mystery with Duncan or some of the other plot elements. We don't get that setup, that build-up, and then that payoff at the end. Which I guess technically loops back into the lack of consequences aspect, where where it's all confined to one episode, and if you were to... I feel like if you were to just replace the characters, it's just so generic compared to what Stories of Sodor used to be. It's alright if it... I mean... I say it's boring. Some like boring, and that's fine. If that's the kind of stories you're looking for, that's perfectly fine. A lot of people are into the slice of life aspect. The problem with that, though, is that's not what Stories of Sodor, sure, started out as that, but then it started getting advanced in their plots. I know some people didn't. I know a lot of people don't like certain aspects of that, but there's a lot I think Stories of Sodor actually did well. Maybe that's a subject for another day, I don't know. But it feels jarring in a way how we go from, again, season 4, which had all of these intertwining and connecting elements to create sort of like a massive story, sort of. But then we go back to the slice of life as if none of the preceding events had happened, which probably loops back to the whole lack of consequences, lack of intertwining elements, etc., etc. Again, if that's what you're into, that's perfectly fine. My main point is the stories just feel shallow, their pacing is still too fast for mine and a lot of others' liking, and I wish there was just a little bit more, I don't know what it is, passion or depth, either, probably both, maybe neither, put into the stories. Now, I want to spend the next few minutes talking about something that I truly disliked and I really cannot defend. That being Dudley's addition into the Stories of Sodor. Now, I love Dudley. I made a video on him, and it was well received. And I am a defender of Dudley's stories. So, so I mean this when I say Dudley should not have been in Stories of Sodor, because the way Victor handled him, and I'm sorry, Victor, but it was pretty atrocious. I don't even have to put it in my own words. I'm going to read off several comments stating why this was a mistake. Now, I made a YouTube post asking about people's opinions on Stories of Sodor Troublemaker is the episode, and honestly, I have to echo a lot of the sentiment of these comments. From Train Theorist Official, I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what to think about this episode. On one hand, it's fascinating to see this version of Dudley play out. The fact that he has his behaviors that resemble an incel is intriguing, and how he is characterized is super interesting, but I also believe this episode has flaws, like a lot. For example, the plot with Mr. Holgate did not need to be there, as it was unnecessary and took away some of the stuff Dudley could have done on his own. And speaking of Dudley, his subtlety is outright gone. He's just masked off from the point he meets Boko, and from there the episode has a pace that is all over the place. Before the 10-minute mark, it felt like it took forever to get to. But then the rest of the episode flies by super fast, like what the fuck. And speaking of what the fuck moments, Dudley fucking dies in the same episode he was featured in. I have no idea what to even say about that, but the way it was executed was shit, like actually Season 5 levels of pacing. This entire episode is all over the place, and it has some golden moments like Rosie telling Dudley off or when Boko gets rammed off the rails. Those were the strongest moments out of the episode. It feels like this is both the worst and best episode put into one confusing mess that me and many other viewers are trying to decipher. It seems like Victor took some of my inspiration and mashed it in with a whole bunch of other stuff, and I'm just sitting here wondering, what the fuck did I just watch? From Hazel Reserve Unit, dilution of the Dudley arc into a short video and having him leave in the same episode. Womp womp. Also, the whole secondary plot with that workman could have literally been in the background setting for whatever the big event described at the end is, but no. Victor squanders more potential storylines yet again. And then what I think is the best comment to describe my thoughts and feelings about the whole episode is by TOQ_Ichigo. It never ceases to amaze me that every time Victor brings in a new OC to his series, he never does something unique or interesting with them besides miss everything that made that character them in the first place. Dudley is manipulative, not one to show his hand, so to see Victor turn him into nothing more than a character that hates diesels just sucks. Besides that, the episode itself is just not good. The pacing is abysmal, somehow worse than Season 5's, and the dialogue in the episode just reads like it was AI generated. So, all in all, I was pretty disappointed with how Dudley was portrayed in the episode, and Honestly, I think that episode is the weakest out of all of season 6, even including the final episode, which is I've already forgotten the name. I'll end off with this. When I first started watching season 6, I originally started writing down all of my thoughts about each episode in a Google Doc, but I actually had to stop because a lot of my thoughts ended up just being repeat points, and just the same problems kept permeating in each episode again and again and again, to the point where I didn't have anything I could actually use. So, that's my thoughts on Season 6 of Stories of Sodor. It's a step up from Season 5, which was an outright insult, but it's still just mostly a nothing burger. It's bland, it's generic, which, again, some people like, and I'm not going to judge, but it's just not something special anymore. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts in the comments. If you made it this far, type trousers somewhere in there, and have a good one. Also, yes, I am completely aware that Thomas is not actually dead, and I hate that with all my passion, and I dread the day he brings him back into the series.